Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my baby, I make plans for 7:45, then I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. It is always a pleasure to see the Steve Shaws of the world, the Richard Dunlops, the Jeremys, the Stevens, the Marks, the Classens, the Jeanettes, the Lloyds. Tony, how you doing? And of course, Eve, how you doing, my friend? It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys join us every Monday. And I have to say, I've spent a lot of time staring into a phone, and I have to admit, it messes with your eyes. Like, I'm having a hard time actually seeing some of this stuff, some of the comments. So if I got to put on the old bifocals, don't laugh too hard. I can appreciate. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, evening. How are we doing? How's everybody? How was everybody's weekend? I know the Shaws were busy on their floaties up and down. I don't know what river it was, Steve, if you could fill us in. But of course, it was commemorating our beloved Serena. And it was awesome to see all the folks come out to that event. So again, we always have Serena in our heart, but it's awesome to see that we're not alone. And that event that you had, Shaws, I tell you, you are a tight-knit group, and I was amazed at the number of people that were floating down that river. So a big kiss and a shout-out to our beloved and never forgotten Serena. We will always love you. We'll always miss you. And it's nice to see that your memory is still alive and well. Outside of that, we have actually a lot to get to. I'm really excited about tonight's show, as I am every show. I love doing this. Absolutely love doing this, I'm sure you folks know. But we have a lot of the lineup from Shimano. So Jim's going to be he's going to be sitting with me, probably in awe with some stuff, because even myself and Jim admitted as well, we haven't done our research on all of it, but there's some shiny, shock and awe stuff that Shimano's come out with at ICast that I can't wait to share with you. If you haven't seen it, Lawrence isn't going to be with us, so we want to bid the Gunther family a great vacation. I believe they're out on in Prince Edward County. So if they're tuning in, big shout out to the Gunther family. Hope you folks are having fun. You're dodging all the storms and staying dry and staying cool. Holy smokes, is it hot out, eh? This heat is incredible. I mean, the temperatures of water temperatures I'm hearing just skyrocketing. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about fish handling, because I think it's really important. I'm going to share a video that was posted on Target Walleye, something that, again, I've never seen before, but I'd love Jay's explanation on it. Lloyd's in the house. How you doing, Lloyd? Yes, absolutely, Richard. We're going to get to all that and much, much more. So let's not waste any time, because as I said, we can't thank you folks enough, and we don't want to keep you here too long. We want to get to all the important stuff. Of course, Mike and I will be back tomorrow. Tourney Tuesday will be the last edition. It's the last time we get to give away some incredible stuff from Shimano, and we have done so already. What will then happen is we will have to then reach out to those folks who won the random prizes, and see if they want to upgrade to another prize that they potentially won. And the best part about that is if they do, others in that random weekly draw, the runner-up will then be the next one chosen. So we're going to be doing our very best to give everybody in our CFN community that participated in the CFN Fish Off and won something a chance to win even more. So it's again, just I'm honored to be a part of this, to be quite honest with you. CFN retreat, as our beloved Richard mentioned, it is quickly approaching, and it's literally right around the corner. And we had this picture shared to us from Warren. Beautiful picture. This is a typical morning, typical afternoon, typical evening up at Horwood. They are sheltered by the wind, which is awesome. So if you get sort of a south or a west wind, it keeps this bay nice and calm, and you are able to get beautiful shots like this. They have shared this post as well in order to entice folks that perhaps are sitting on the fence. And we've had a lot of questions recently. You know, do you need to be a member of CFN? No. Is it only exclusive to folks that follow CFN? No. Do you have to be from a certain area of Ontario? No. Anybody and everyone is welcome. If you hear about the CFN retreat, which is August 13th to the 19th, you are more than welcome to come. We've managed to sign up Mitch Bolduc as well as a few others recently. So the numbers are climbing, but we'd love to get as many folks as we can out there to enjoy some incredible fishing. So please reach out to Warren and Doris at www.horwoodlakelodge.com and make sure you get your butt booked in a bed. And to make it even easier, I can't think of a better segue than this video, which has been shared by Horwood as well as Lisa Tadgel, who put it together. It's just simple and it's common sense.
If you guys are looking to catch a lot of fish, go to a location that has a lot of fish.
That's a good idea.
That's the best idea I've ever come up with.
Good word of advice.
I need a Nobel Peace Prize for that.
I don't know about a Nobel Peace Prize, but needless to say, if you want to catch fish, and I mean a ton of fish, Horwood Lake Lodge is definitely the place you want to go. And Dave Helmer, who is on the lake right now, he's got a cottage there, and he said, Scotty, the smallmouth, he's caught more smallmouth this year than any other year. So if you like your smallmouth fishing, again, don't hesitate. As I said, it's August 13th to the 19th. That includes this includes your boat rental. It includes a cabin for you to stay in that has all the amenities you need, as well as your food. You literally bring what you want, but not what you need, because everything's going to be there. Not to mention we have a fish fry literally every night, unless for whatever reason people are hungry. And the cost is $875 to try and, I mean, as I said, that's just a fantastic price, and we are tickled pink that Horwood Lake was able to do that again for us this year. So again, please reach out to Warren and Doris. Time is a ticking. That is the website. Please go to it and make sure that you get yourself booked in a bed. We'd love to see you there, because it's always a great time. And of course, if we're mentioning Horwood, we can't not mention the wonderful folks over at Camp Macintosh. This was a post that we put on our page today. There's gators like this and many more, larger, smaller, and everything in between. There's walleye. Well, a chance to catch walleye. It's they start to show up that time of year. It is rare to catch them, but you will see them. But I'll tell you this: if you want to catch smallmouth, wow, I can't say enough about it. And of course, Tracy and Andre, our hosts, our wonderful hosts, they will set us up and make sure that we're fed well. They'll make sure that you have a boat that is in running condition, and they're going to point you to where the fish are. But needless to say, this is always a great time. And I'm happy to announce that things are booking up. So if you are thinking of going, and it's just north of $300 for the weekend, which is September 22nd to the 24th, reach out to Tracy, get your arse booked in a bed, and be prepared to have a great time, because it's a guarantee. And we'll just play this little preview video just in case there are some that are still kicking tires. Where are you going, Don?
Jim McLaughlin.
Yeah, baby. There you have it. Cat McIntosh. Love to see you. September 22nd to the 24th. It is our OFC Nation second annual retreat. Moose, myself, Mike will be there. It's going to be a great time. We've got some GCFA ladies that will be joining us as well. Heather and Pam, I'm looking forward to seeing all you folks up there as well. So again, don't hesitate. Reach out and be prepared. It's going to be an awesome time. Walleye Wars, it's almost ready to commence. As you can see, it starts July 21st. It goes till the 30th. And again, there are so many prizes available. If they get the numbers are down right now. They want to see an increase if they can. That way they're able to guarantee some of the prize payouts. We are less than a week out from Walleye Wars Ontario. Get signed up today and compete for your chance at $20,000 in prizes, including a Garmin Live Scope. A Garmin Live Scope. Think of that, like a Garmin Live Scope. And it's a $250 entry to enter, and that is the link there. So if you are interested in signing up, Walleye Wars, it starts the 21st, which I believe is this Friday, and it goes to the 30th. So not a lot of time, but enough time to get yourself a prize, and a really cool prize, especially the Live Scope. $250 for a chance to win a $3,000-$4,000 unit. Got to do it, and we'd love to see you sign up. So again, please use the link that I just posted in the comments and get yourself signed up. And of course, if you are familiar with Anglers Atlas and you are an angler like Mark Wolf who targets Nipissing on a regular basis, and congratulations to Mark. He took home a $50 gift certificate recently for just participating. And there is still a $500 cash prize out there for the first tagged walleye. This is going on Nipissing. It goes to the 4th of September. So you still got lots of time to enter, still lots of time to catch those elusive tagged fish. But if you do, it'll pay you. It'll make your time worthwhile. This is how you enter. Those are the links there. www.anglersatlas.com event/740. There's a $2,500 guaranteed prize, $2,500 in guaranteed prizing. And this one is free to enter. Mark, if you can post a comment, some feedback. I know you've been out on the water and you've been doing your best. Big shout out to My Catch, of course, who's helped put this together. The Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, who really are the ones that spearheaded this. And of course, Bait, Tackle, and Supply, a huge sponsor that has helped out in a big way. But Mark, as I said, any feedback that you can offer, how easy it is, what you've experienced in the time that you've had out on Nipissing, and of course, using the app, we really, really appreciate this. And of course, all the feedback. Something I wanted to share with you, if you like using worms, and I know the folks up that are going to be going up to Horwood, I saw this posted, and I've never seen something like it. This makes so much sense, and it has multi-purposes. It's not just a means of growing out worms, but it's a means of creating fertilizer for your garden and getting rid of some compost that, let's face it, the landfills, they don't need anymore. Have a listen to this, because this is really intriguing.
tower, which gives us infinite amounts of worms, compost, and liquid fertilizer. Also, fun fact, many people in their basement end up making worms through these worm towers and can make up to $100,000 a year just by selling the worms. It's been 90 days since we set it up, which means the population of the worms should have doubled. By just giving it a quick glance, we can definitely see that there are many more worms in there than the original amount. To make one, you'll need 3 5-gallon buckets. Make sure they're food grade. One of the buckets needs to have a solid bottom and the other 2 need to have holes cut out. You'll stack all 3 buckets together, ensuring the top 2 are the ones with the holes cut out in the bottom. You'll seal the middle bucket's holes with newspaper. Then you'll add in the organic matter that will be turned into compost. Over the next 3 to 6 months, the worms will break down the organic matter into compost, and their population size will double every 90 days. When all the organic matter has been broken down, the worms will travel through the holes through the bucket above them because we just put in new organic matter. We then can extract the compost from the middle bucket and then put it on top and put new compost on top of that, repeating the process.
That does that not make sense? Like, I love that. What a concept. And 5-gallon pails, let's be honest, they are available anywhere and everywhere. And it's, to me, that is a really cheap way of not only growing out worms. I don't know about necessarily selling them. I don't know if that's legal to do, but if it is, by all means, this is a great way to get started. But it makes so much sense. Folks are trying to find ways to get rid of their compost and create that suitable fertilizer for your gardens. And again, if you want this video, reach out to me on Messenger. I will share it with you so that it's a bit of a how-to, and you can follow along and you can get going on this. Because to me, this is straightforward, simple, and it's self-contained. I don't know how bad it would smell, so I don't know if you'd want to do it in your basement. Definitely probably out in the garage or somewhere cool. And out of the sun, but needless to say, I think it's awesome. Well, listen, Jim's going to be coming up next. We have a lot of videos to go through, as well as our new segment, which is FOSS or Fact. It's an acronym. I'll let you figure it out. You guys are all pretty smart and on the ball. Is it FOSS or FOSS or Fact? Jim will be sharing that with us. It's a new segment that we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing a video, but it isn't a CFN Live without this video being played before the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin, who's up next. Jim McLaughlin is in the house. Sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to take so long, my friend, but I thought I did it as quick as I possibly could.
Hey, look at how quick my nose is healing.
I just before we were going to go on live, I noticed that, and you'd posted that picture of it bandaged up. Yeah, I tell you, got a lot of shares, got a lot of attention. But Jim, what is it about your face, man? It heals up pretty quick.
I've always been like that.
Wow.
I mean, when I played hockey, I could be all beat up on the weekend, and by the time Friday night came, I didn't look like I'd been in a fight.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's just I've always been, and when I took the flip there a couple of years ago, when I got the fishing line and I tore the end off my nose and the gristle was gone and all that shit. 10 days later, it didn't even look like it had happened. I was a little red for a while, but I don't know what it is.
Now you got it removed on your nose. You got it removed on your back.
Yeah, my shoulders, my leg. The one on my leg was pretty nasty though. They cut a hole. They had to use a punch, and they cut a hole, and they took a piece out about the size of a lima bean.
Jeez.
I think I told you it was some kind of really rare cancer, and it's like 95% malignant. And mine wasn't.
Oof.
Gotta like that. But anyways, they cut all the other ones off me, and I found another one on my leg today, as a matter of fact, that they missed, I guess. So.
Oh wow. Unreal.
But, yeah, the one on my back's about the size of a toonie on my shoulder here.
Yeah.
And because I didn't see it, I didn't know it was there. And I said to Tammy one night, I said, "Hey, what's on my shoulder?"
Now, Jim, I have to ask. I mean, obviously we're out in the sun a lot, and this is a great segue to remind folks of the importance of sunscreen and making sure that you keep yourself bundled up. But for you to get that on your back and on your legs, most times that would have been covered up. Any explanation on how you got it?
I don't know. I always wore shorts.
Okay.
Like I put shorts on, like especially now. I put shorts on now, March 20th. You know what I mean? And they come off when I get in the truck in the morning, and I can't get warm. That's what I said. That's usually like, that's in December usually if it doesn't snow early. You know what I mean? I'm just like that. I wear shorts, eh?
I'm the same.
We've had a few cut off there. I had a really bad one cut off my face here when I was younger, right there.
Okay, yeah.
I had the scar. It was
I thought that would have been from hockey.
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's our best one from hockey that still shows.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna pull your teeth out and go, no, that's
no. I still got them all. I still got them all, boy. Bobbing and a weaving, baby.
That's not a boy. And yes, George, absolutely. We're so glad to hear that it's not malignant and that you're healing up. But
you got to remember, right? When I was younger and I could bench 285, I had my shirt off once in a while. But I never wore my. I never would be in a boat without a shirt on. Maybe. When we were younger and we were out in the boat doing things you shouldn't have been doing, not fishing, what I'm saying, just being kids. And it could have happened then and it stuck around, but it'd be an awful long time. It was about 30 years ago they got all the stuff that was on me off. And I guess this is just the accumulation of what's, the good thing. But the good thing was I saw the cancer doctor on Wednesday too, and he told me my everything, PSA stayed the same, which he was pretty excited about. So he's cut me loose till the fall again.
Awesome.
And,
good to hear, buddy. Good to hear.
What it is, pal. You get on with it, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, one thing that has not stayed the same, of course, is our beloved folks over at Shimano. And the recent unveiling at ICast, I almost was to a point where, is it ever going to end? It just seemed like one new product after another. And I put together some videos. I shortened some of the videos that Shimano had put out just so that we wouldn't spend the whole time going over some of the stuff. We'll start with, of course, what both you and I have used and love already, which, of course, is the Mastiff.
Introducing Mastiff from Shimano. Mastiff's most significant feature cannot be seen with the naked eye. Nano Armor, a proprietary Shimano technology, applies nano-sized ridges across the outer surface of the line to increase knot binding strength and toughness. This helps to prevent slippage and reduces the risk of line breakage.
You gotta love how that ends, eh, Jim?
So that
yeah.
So that I can let the secret out now. They actually got this nano thing from my face.
Oh.
When they had me in Japan, I disappeared for 2 days. That's what it was. No,
wow.
Just kidding.
Well, it won an award, obviously, and without question, I'm not the least bit surprised. It is a technology that until you actually use it, you won't understand how good it actually is.
Yeah, and you'll never really know that technology, what they show you, because you can't see it and it's not there. But when I've spent a lot of time now, I probably used half this spool farting around, just doing things, trying to break it. all kinds of things. Like you got to put on gloves to break it. It's 10-pound test. And I mean, it's really thin. I would think it's like, I don't know if they give the diameter. Oh, it's got it in millimeters. Yeah, I'm not sure in the millimeters, but I mean, it's like super, super thin. You can see how thin it is.
Yeah.
That's 10-pound test. But for you to break that, if I tried to, these crusty old things would cut.
Wow.
They'd cut. So it's super, super strong. It's going to be in a 200-yard spool. These are the ones from Japan that they got as early, but it's going to be in a 200-yard spool. I think there's only one way I could describe it. I've got other tests here, but they're all lighter.
Mm-hmm.
All I've played with is 10, and I like to use the word friendly.
Yeah.
It's really, really friendly line. I put it on a bait caster and I put it on a spinning rod.
Yeah.
And I've sat out the back here, over on the dock, down on the St. Lawrence, whatever, and played with it. And I'm impressed.
I am too. And the one thing that we talked about last week about it is that, as much as you love to wrench that line tight so that knot is nice and tight, you almost don't have to. And it tightens itself. And it's like some of those zip ties. It seems like as you pull it tighter, it becomes, as you said, absolutely unforgiving to break.
Well, I guess a Ziploc kind of has something the same, except the technology's sideways, not lengthwise.
Mm-hmm.
It's little.
It's
things.
honestly what it reminds me. Anybody that wants to know sort of how it performs, it's like a zip tie. When you tie a knot, it's like a zip tie. That's exactly what I think of when I use it. Another product that came out, of course, I'm blown away by this. Sedona is a reel that I consider, sort of an entry level for Shimano, but holy smokes, the FG, have they ever packed in some technology in this reel? Have a look. Incredible, Jim, to see that much technology put in a reel that is going to retail under $150.
Yeah, and for the average person, I understand fully, and I talk about this often. I've got 50 rods and reels sitting here in the office and whatever. We understand that people can't go out and do that, the average person, But if he wants something that's going to be dependable and has a lot of features that the real high-end reels have, something like a Sedona is accessible to almost any angler, who's kind of serious about it. It's not that far off, so it's real. Looks better than most.
I love that. And Jeremy, I would 100% agree with you. Getting back to the Mastiff, Richard, great question. And I will say, when I was looking for some of these products that were revealed at ICast, I tried to look around, and in a lot of cases, they're out of stock. So they've.
You won't get any of this for. Yeah, it's ICast. They put the stuff out way ahead. Yeah, it'll be. I think the timeline on the line is the end of August, September.
There you
go.
So
you'll have time to fish with it in the fall. Yeah.
It's awesome, and as I said, the Sedona reel, as Mike said, it's really all you need, and I couldn't agree more. It really is. Incredible. Shimano is able to pack all that technology into one incredible reel. I believe they won an award for that one as well, Jim.
Not for Sedona, no.
Not the Sedona? Okay. This one here is another one that they won. Yeah. Again, a Stratic. What can't be said about the Stratic, Jim?
It's the reel. It's a tank. It's just, see that new drag, they changed the drag is the deal with it.
I just loaded with, oh my Lord. And again, that I wouldn't consider is an entry level. It would be something that if you had a Sedona and you were looking to upgrade, you're becoming, a Jim McLaughlin or a little bit better than a Scotty Martin, and you're looking to upgrade the Stratic. That's a great reel, especially.
Yeah, for sure. And Scotty, you buy a Stratic, I was doing a lot of posting about it last week, and I had guys comment, guys send me messages. You know, I've still got this Stratic, that Stratic. It's 13 years old. It's 15 years old. It's 8 years old. You know, I gave my old ones to my grandkids, and I bought myself 4 new ones last year. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's really, really cool to hear that these people, you know, once you go Stratic, you don't go back. It's you know, in my mind, of the reels that you can get to and have a bunch, if you need a bunch, the Stratic is by far in the world the #1 reel that way.
awesome. Well said. I couldn't have said it any better. Now, a man who loves his fluff and loves making fluff for other people, and is probably at this stage tired of making fluff. If you're looking for a bait caster, Shimano has come out with something that I think is geared directly for this kind of fishing. Would you agree, Jim? The Albert?
Yeah, for BFS, yeah, it's you can fish lighter baits on it, but it's if you want to use a bait casting reel, it does allow you to use a bait casting reel. There's something about the control of it once you get the knack of it. But I mean, the Aldebaran is you know, I mean, when you touch one of those and use it, it's just an absolutely incredible product. It's high end, like with the MGL spool, and they've taken a whole bunch of stuff out of it. It's such a light reel, it's absolutely incredible. I've been using the Curado BFS, and you know, I've been chucking 8-ounce baits around on it like I would on a spinning rod, just if not further. And I remember last summer I went out the back here, and it was getting into the fall when the weeds started to die off, and I took one of Hero's little. In fact, you know what? It might be hanging right here. Is it? Yeah, it is.
No way.
Yeah, I took one of Hero Knee Shine's little jig heads.
Yes.
And I put a 2.8 rhythm wave on it, and I was fishing that on a bait caster with 8-pound line, just like I would on a spinning rod.
No problem, eh? Incredible.
No, it took me a little while to get used to it because it's a different feeling. It's a different. It's just different for me to learn to cast something that light on a bait caster, but you can do it, you know.
No.
And I had it on a Zodius BFS rod, and now they've brought it out in the Aldebaran. I mean, this technique with the lighter lures and the finesse stuff, especially in the Orient, it's just monster. In Japan, it's monster.
And for someone like myself who didn't grow up using a bait caster, you know, you get intimidated because you think that you can't cast, you can't use a bait caster to do finesse fishing. So for someone like me who doesn't have great experience using a bait caster, which one would you recommend? Would you go right to the Curado, or would you go with the Alberta?
Oh, the Curado. I mean, the Aldebaran, I think it's like $6.99.
Yeah,
it's like it's a considerable investment, but once again, it's one of those things you invest in. At the Aldebarans I have, I've had them for 15 years now.
Right.
You know, they've been cleaned a couple of times. I don't use them a lot, but I do. Yeah. And because you have to keep using the newer stuff. It's what I'm here for. And but you know, I use them. Like I have a. Do I still have it here?
Glass and either, yeah. I can't say that I've done a lot of fishing with a bait caster, so I appreciate your honesty. And I'll be honest with you, I'm just comfortable with the open face reel. I love spin casts. They're my go-to.
See, that's like sending a carpenter out and giving them a fine saw and no hammers or anything. Eh?
Exactly.
You got to have all the different tools. You can't effectively pull a fish out of milfoil or something like that with a spinning rod. You just can't effectively do it. I've done it. You've done it, but it's going to mess. It's not as efficient as you can be. That right there is one of my favorite reels ever.
What is that's Calcutta, is it not?
Calcutta TEDC.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Calcutta TE. Sorry, the TE's for total efficiency, and I use this for really, really lightweight casting when I'm using a stickworm.
Interesting.
Which is weightless, not much weight to it. That's one of Chaser's baits there.
Yeah.
The Galeas, yeah. I've been using this stuff down the back out here, and I caught a bunch of fish on it. Caught a big one the other night again. I got one last, I think it was Thursday. Last week I got one that was about 4.5. I got another one, so not as big as the other one, but I'll take it when you go down for 15 minutes.
Right on. Now, when it comes to bait casters, of course, this is a new rod that I know nothing about. And for no other reason, Jim, it's more for you and I just to sit there and ooh and ah, because this looks really sexy for a baitcast rod. I'm not 100% sure what fish or what kind of presentation this is best suited for. Do you have anything that you can help us with? Because
I have not used it. I have not held one. I will get one though. I will get a bait casting one. I'm sure it comes through the from the Poison Adrena, and they're just they're absolutely amazing rods. They're a high end rod, very very high end. But I tell you, so often people don't get to use. They never get to use something that high end. Like when I lend guys an NRX, and they come back and they buy one. And once you catch your first fish with an NRX, you're caught. There's something about the whole thing that just is absolutely incredible. And this is going to be in the same. This will be in the same class.
Now, I right away when I looked at the video or when I was putting it together, are you stuck on cork, Rod?
Makes zero difference.
Yeah, some folks like the new style, whether it be the sponge or whatever it is that they use,
Foams, yeah,
the foam, what have you. But a lot of folks like the old fashioned cork. They love to stick with that cork. But for you, it doesn't really matter, Jim.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Come by fishing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I think there's one thing about cork, and correct me if I'm wrong. I would be about 99% sure that cork would absorb feeling as opposed to transmit it.
Yeah, true enough.
Because of the feeling of it.
I never thought of that.
Because you got to remember, the cork that they use is really high end. It's really high end. Like there's no garbage cork there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure sometimes when you'll see big switches away from cork for periods, it's because there isn't cork available at that high grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be sharing these videos in the coming days on CFN. We just want to introduce you folks to some of the stuff that was introduced at ICast on behalf of Shimano. And again, out of the park. We'll be talking to Jay a little bit later of some of the stuff that Berkeley brought out as well. I was just amazed at how, like, every year ICast is the event. It is an unveiling. It's like the Grammys for fishing.
Biggest one in the world.
Yeah, it's the Grammys for fishing, and I will say there is no shortage of shock and awe that comes out of that show with new technologies, new introductions, and revolutionary ideas that get presented to us anglers.
Yeah, we won 3 best of shows again this year.
Incredible.
It's kind of cool. We won for the line, the Stratic, and the NRX inshore rods.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel so good, and to see that these guys at Shimano, they come together as a team. These guys are just, all cylinders are just banging.
Yeah.
It's been like that for years now. I mean, they just literally it's I hate to say it, but it isn't open to debate who's got the best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the trophies. You go to Shimano, they've got shelves in the front.
Yeah.
And these awards from ICast you couldn't get them in a 5-ton truck. There's just, over the years, it's nonstop.
Well, as you said, they keep continuing to push as much technology and shove as much technology into these rods and reels each and every year that I have to say it almost is unfair for everybody else. Jim, speaking of unfair, when we come to weedless styles of presentations, I've never seen a hook like this. Something similar to this I've seen, but the concept, as you mentioned, is an older one. But I'm sure there's variations, because you had mentioned before we went to live, this style of hook is no longer available. Folks, have a look at this. And I'm sure for some of you who have fished bass and fished in heavy cover, you've used something similar to this. But if you haven't, I want to introduce you to something that I thought was really cool.
Owner weedless tube hook. This is a 3.75 inch tube. I want to show you guys how to turn this into one of the deadliest summer baits this season. First things first, I'm going to take the body of the tube and really rub some of the salt out of it. Next, I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to go straight in, and I'm going to come straight out the top of that tube. Then I'm going to pull my weight up in there. I'm going to expose that hook eye, and then I'm going to line this up, bend my tube, go in one side, go out the other, and now I'm ready to Texpose. I take this plastic, I push it up, and then over the point of the hook. 100% completely weedless. You guys can fish this around wood, grass, docks, brush piles. If you guys are trying to imitate bluegill in your area, this is the deal this season.
I have to say, Jim, again, for someone that doesn't fish a lot of cover, I thought something like that is really, really cool. I know walleye love tube jigs as well. This has certainly spawned me to look for this style of hook, and I'm sure there's lots out there, and Jim's probably digging out a bunch as
Yeah, I'm trying to find something here. There was a little flat piece of lead with a hole in it that you used to put on a 90-degree hook.
Yeah.
I don't have any left though, but I used to use these once again from Owner. You can see they're meant to be weedless. They have a little screw in.
Yeah.
And I found those in the very bottom. So when I used to fish tournaments, Scotty, this is the box. There's some new stuff in here now. I don't know whether I can get this up for you to see without dumping it. This is the box that used to be my hooks.
Wow.
Like there's like probably, 40, 50 different styles of hooks in there. Different sinkers, like Owner stuff, Mustad. It's just, there's no end to it, there's just no end to it. And it's really, if you want to do it at that level, it's stuff that you have to have.
Right.
But man, the hooks and the stuff that we have now is so much better than what they had when I fished. I was just looking in the box here, and I'm looking and saying to myself, well, I would never use that now. I was looking at what's through my mind, because there's stuff that's so much better. When I get out there, one of my favorite ones ever is these ones here, the Kevin Van Dam ones with the little grip. See at the top of the hook, there's that little black knob there on the bend.
Yep.
You know the difference that makes in a day?
I can imagine.
Having that there to hold your bait in place.
I can
If
imagine.
you're a tournament guy, you're not going fixing it every time you bring it down. Little things like that. And I often talked about efficiency and time, and that's monstrous, eh? But terminal tackle is a huge market.
I couldn't agree more. Jeremy brings up a great question. How much does this actually get that gets shown at ICast? Lasts out in the industry for more than a year. I can honestly say, Jeremy, speaking on behalf of Shimano, there's no issue there. But you're right. Some of this stuff might become fads.
It's true. And I think some of those are, maybe some of the lures, things that just appear to be, like not non-conforming, so to speak. You'll see something come out new. Some guy comes out with a and it's very, very interesting, and it looks like. But if the fishermen don't respond and buy it, it disappears. You have to get to the fishermen first, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing. But man, when it comes to terminal tackle like that, like I used to have 2 boxes like that in the boat.
Jeez.
One was filled with stuff that came away from just standard rigging type stuff for Texas and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other box incorporated, no, it's not here. The other box incorporated took me into the drop shot era.
Oh, okay.
Had all the drop shot hooks, the different drop shot sinkers, and all that stuff. And it was more, I hate to use the word more finessey, because what it is, because that's what fishing has really become.
Now, I have to ask you, it'd be interesting to know. I've never asked you this question. When did you start using the drop shot? Roughly, what?
Oh, Lord. First drop shot Shimano ever had was, I was still living in the old farmhouse with the kids, and it was a bait casting rod.
Wow.
First one that they ever had that I came out with. And it, one of the first fish I ever caught, when guys started drop shotting, it wasn't for smallmouth, it was for largemouth.
Interesting.
And so I went to the Big Rito, and that's one of the lakes. The Rito system has some deep water, has lake trout, a lot of lake trouts, blake, stuff like that too. Really multi-species lakes, walleyes in them now too.
Yep.
They're really starting to show out in the Big Rito. A buddy of mine last weekend caught, I think he said 17 walleyes in Big Rito.
Oof.
That's like,
yeah.
I thought I was cool one day. I was fishing many years ago when I caught 5. And it was a giant school of fish on the flasher. I thought they were largemouth, so I'm looking down the hole. I couldn't quite see them. It was just getting dark. drop the jig down, thunk, pull up a 4-pound walleye, drop it back down, pull up a 3-pound. You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. So they've been there. They're getting to be more well known now. But then you talk to guys and they say, "Oh, I can't believe this," and they post a picture saying, "I caught a walleye. I hope more of them develop on the big reel. We can catch more." Then it shows them with it sitting on a friggin' plate. Like, I understand walleyes are good to eat and you can harvest them and whatever else. You're not doing anything wrong. But if you're going to say, "I hope the population continues to grow so we can fish for these fish," and it gets a lot easier, it's not so hit and miss, because that's a big lake. It's 21 miles long, and up to close to 400 feet deep and everything where the lake trout are and that. But it's just there's just a ton of species out there. But I was using it for largemouths, and I got off this point where I had caught some big fish on jigs before, and I thought, I'm going to try a drop shot. And we didn't have all the fancy sinkers back then. We just used to use a little bell sinker, which you can see a lot of guys have gone back to now. It's become the thing. And I put the little plastic bait on. I put on a Western weenie worm from Kalen's.
Holy smokes!
Little wiggly, hand poured worm. And I'd like to have some of those today for drop shot.
No kidding. Wow, no kidding.
They're killer. But they were so flexible because they were hand poured and everything. They're flat on one side. But I dropped it down there, and I'm looking on the Humminbird flasher, or the Humminbird unit, and I turned the Vexilar on so I could really see what was there.
Yeah.
We're back to those squares. But I was looking at it, and I turned on the flasher and went, "Whoa!" There's a load of them. The drop shot got to the bottom, and I was dead calm out. I had to use the electric to make the boat move, and I still remember it. I slid it a couple of feet, and the rod just went down dead slow, like that. I set the hook, and it was like a 5.5 pound largemouth, stuck right in the roof of the mouth.
That's
and
awesome.
That's the first fish that I ever caught drop shotting. So
and it's so
kind of
cool.
got hooked on that. Yeah.
Corey, I did hear about the Mustad are redesigning their hooks. I did hear about that. Be interesting to see what they come out with. And this was a question. This is actually a great point, Jeremy. Is there any advantage to using an offset octopus style hook for a drop shot? Is there any advantage to that, or what would you say, Jim?
I've never liked offset hooks for drop shotting.
Yeah.
And I tell myself I don't like them for largemouth bass fishing, but they're so efficient to use.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days that I used to fish, I fished with an owner 3.0, 3 times strong. I don't even know if there's any here anymore, buddy. 3 times strong though, straight shanked hook.
Wow.
And when I say straight shank, boy, it was straight as an arrow.
Yeah, that's all I've ever seen for drop shot, but it's an interesting idea, Jeremy. I've never thought to ask that question about it.
But I fished with that. I've always been a firm believer that if you're going to drop shot, you want a hook to be really small. Yeah. You want it to be out of the way. And a good buddy of mine, Charles Sim, he still to this day uses the owner offset drop shot hook.
Is that right?
And he doesn't use it like it had the 45 on it. So you could Texas rig a drop shot if there was slime or a little bit of weed around or something. Right. He doesn't use it like that, but it works for him. His confidence is there, so he uses it. And I never liked hooks with a bend on the front, because when they eat it, they just suck it in. I mean, it's gone. Mm-hmm. When you pull it out, that bend pops their mouth a bit. And if the hook comes out sideways, it can come out. That's why sometimes you'll get a bite, you'll wind up and set the hook, and you go, "How did I miss it?" I'm sure that's what happens.
It's a great, geez, man, you have wealth of knowledge as always.
It just turns on its side and it makes it out. And I've also watched some stuff that was on Bassmaster years ago. I think they did it with Tommy Martin, who's retired now. He was one of the top guys years ago, like a really big time, famous, legendary type guy. And he had film showing these slow motion of it setting the hook on the fish and it popping their mouth open.
Is that right, eh?
See the mouth just go like this.
Interesting.
Because you're bringing something through the mouth that doesn't, it has a bend on it. When it hits it, it wants to follow it,
Makes sense, 100%. Yeah. I'm hoping Steve's right when he says this, because I would have to agree. That's the only drop shot rod I remember.
No, it was a Speedmaster.
Speedmaster.
Oh yeah, this is way before Kamara's, buddy. Okay. Way before.
Steve, I was with you, dude. I thought you were onto something. I thought you were right, but no, as always, the guru prevails. George, you bring up a great comment in regards to catch and release. Obviously, yeah, it's exactly as you say, and we have, again, George, we appreciate your insight because
Yep.
it is true, 100% true. Now, this is a new segment. Just before we let you go, this is Foss or Fact, Jim, and I played this for you earlier. Your comments were amazing, so I'm going to play it for all you folks. Have a listen.
You put new fishing line, monofilament fishing line, on a spool, it will shoot off because it has a memory. If you soak a spool of fishing line in hot water, it will remove the memory from the monofilament and it will become married to the shape of the new spool without shooting off anymore. Use hot water to do this trick.
Well, Jim?
Well, I'll go for that 100% when I can find one fishing line box that says we recommend you put our line in hot water. That's even better than before.
It was, dude.
It means that you put the, and what's this monofilament stuff? No. You got to put it on the day before you go fishing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you take it off a spool, well, here, I'll use even a bigger spool. I used a lot of this last year, and I really liked it. In fact, this is what I had on the rod most of the time with you in the boat, except it wasn't 4 pound, was this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm totally impressed with it. Strong as hell. Abrasion resistance as well. But that's got nothing to do with it. If you take it off a spool this big and you put it on a spool this big, then it wants to be this big. But it only wants to be that big for a little while. And that's the thing. So you just have to get by that. And the other thing you can do is you put it on, just go outside and hook your lure on the edge, on the edge of something, the garage, stick it in the bark on a tree, put a face mask on when you pull it. Make sure if you have a lure, it's not coming off, whatever you put it on, and just give the line a couple of tugs and it'll straighten it out. And then when you put it back on the reel, it'll be good the next morning when you get out.
See, Jim, again, you are so eloquent, to the point, and direct. I love it, dude. But I have to agree. The last thing I would want as a manufacturer is my purchasers, my clients, my customers dousing my product in hot water and hoping that the compounds hold together like they're supposed to. Because let's face it, we do not fish in boiling water. And I can't imagine what that hot water, how it affects the line, especially.
Well, when I keep bass, I boil them together with my spool before I fry them, so they're well cooked. So yesterday on the weekend, there's a shootout tournament here right in my backyard.
Yeah.
In fact, my backyard had like 8-10 boats in it.
Yeah.
Tighten the drag.
I loved it.
Don't you love it when you go out in the morning? You got a brand new rod and reel or something. You cast out first cast, you hook a fish, and you set the hook, and you haven't tightened the drag yet. It's a new rod, eh? It's just zinging away. I never did it. I was highly tuned pro. It's one of those things. It's funny. So they have a tournament out the back here yesterday. So my buddy says to me, "What do you think I need to be in the top 10?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking 21 will win."
Yeah.
Maybe a 22. He goes, okay. So what do I need? I said, I think 18 change or so. 18 will get you a paycheck. So he comes in with 17. So almost 26 wins. And 10th place is 2190, so 22 in my backyard.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
There's fish here. There's lots of them. There's a lot of people around complaining about fishing, and it's not like it used to be and whatever. This is like unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the highest weight I've ever seen from a tournament here in all the time that I used to fish here and everything. I've never seen, between 25 and 26 win.
Wow.
It's just, these are monster fish.
Well, Jim, and I've had the pleasure of being out with you, and I've seen them. I've seen them firsthand. But we'd have been hard pressed to break 20 pounds, and the week before you got here, I'd have been hard pressed to break 20.
But then that was just me fishing alone for a few hours.
Yeah.
If you were out there and already knew exactly what you were going to do, where you were going to go, you practiced three or 4 days, had a good look around, shook a few fish off, caught a few. There's batches of them here and there. Because what I fished with you and what I would do in the tournament was not quite the same.
Well, I will say the production in my eyes was the same. These fish look big even with you holding them. And I dare say you had a 20-pound bag without any problem. This guy, I was really good with the rock bass. Jim, as always, dude, thanks so much for your time, bud. It's so nice to hear that you're healing up and things are looking good. We thank you for thank you for your time, your insight, and your wisdom. We can't get enough of you, bud. And
put on sunscreen, you bunch of wieners. You'll be old like me, and you'll be going through the same thing.
Yeah, well, it's great advice.
God, we were kids and we went out though. We used to put on tanning stuff that made you burn even more. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't sheltering you.
Well, how many times did we lather ourselves up with baby oil? Like, how stupid is that?
And you'd be out with your girlfriend and she'd be spraying water on herself to make herself get on that all nice and brown, Oh, we'll just put the same thing. That night you'd be laying at home in the bed with a fever, shaking from being, you probably had, first-degree burns over half your body, but it was cool.
Jim, as always, bud, you have yourself a great week. Thanks for your time, pal. And we'll see you next Monday.
Talk to you soon. Be safe, kiddies. Go catch some big fish.
Right on. Jay Barnucz is up right after this word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
J-Dog in the house.
What is happening, Scotty?
Is it raining out where you are right now?
Is it raining? No, it's not raining here. Is it raining there?
Oh, my Lord. The heavens just opened up.
Really?
Yeah. It's not, as I said, this summer especially, I don't know what it is, but the rains have been epic. Sometimes short-lived, but they get a lot down on the ground in a hurry.
I'm telling you, dude, like last week, actually, I was up working. Where was I last week? I was working Kincardine area, Walkerton, and it was a beautiful week. And then all that rain came and the rivers are blown out. So and all over Ontario, we've had so much rain the past week. It's kind of wild for midsummer to be like that, but that's what it is. So
100%. And it's just something that we will have to get used to going forward. Global warming or whatever, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they are weather events. And as humans, we will find a way to adapt. Speaking of Berkeley, ICast, there was no shortage of unveils from the Berkeley corner, and I didn't get a chance to put as many videos together as I did for Jim in regards to it, but some of the highlights for you. What were some of the good takeaways?
So they won Best of Show for soft bait, and it was the Berkeley Nessie in the NESSIE. So it's pretty cool. It's a glide bait, which is a type of swim bait, and the Berkeley Nessie is basically a hinged glide bait, and it's made with power bait, so that's really neat. So there's a 5-inch, a 7-inch, a 9-inch model, and the 9-inch is like 2 ounces, so that just tells you how big it is. And it's pretty cool. Like, the technology they use to hinge the lure is they use this special mesh they've been developing the last couple of years. Like, they won a couple of prizes last year for some of their new plastic technology, which is pretty durable plastic, but it still is very lifelike. And so the ability to have this plastic hinge that's also durable has been really making waves in the industry. And so kudos to Berkeley. And I know some of this stuff, and Jim alluded to this too, like the development of this stuff takes years to get there, and they don't want to put products out until they get it just right. And I think ICast was just a real showcase for some really innovative technology. And also too, some sort of old school stuff, Abu Garcia won best combo for their Zata combo. They're going to retail for about $300 for a rod and reel. And it's honestly, I have to say, if you're in the market for an entry level bait casting combo, the Zata combo is really, really good for that. Good value for that price point for $300 for a rod and a reel. And it's got a lot of great features on the bait caster that I highly recommend if folks are looking for that. Check that out. And all this stuff will be available to us this fall. Although I think for a lot of us know that we won't really get a chance to use that stuff until next season, just because by the time fall gets here, it's October, and bass fishing and other species kind of winding down by that time. But it makes us excited for next season and being able to use these all the time.
100%. Jeremy, I thought the same thing when you're talking about the hinged and jointed baits. Is it modified? Is it similar to, or completely different from the Husky jerk?
So it's a very tall bodied bait. It's very high. Okay, almost like a shad looking bait. And it's also basically, if you can picture like a big gizzard shad that's about 6 inches long, and they've hinged it in the middle. So when you retrieve it, it has a really erratic action going back and forth and back and forth. I've seen some of the pool footage of it during the testing phases. And it actually has a disc on the bottom. So, and it has a little bit of a lip on the front. So there's a lip on the front, but the disc on the bottom causes lift, so that it won't because it's so thin and the way it wags, it won't sink. The little disc on the bottom, which is just below the hinge, causes it to rise. So it's a pretty neat bait. Very innovative.
Wow. George, I'm going to hope that you know what George is asking. So they put mesh and sent it into a flag glide bait.
I don't know what George is asking. So,
okay,
but if you look up the videos, actually, if you go on YouTube and you look up Nessie, Berkeley Nessie bait, one of the first hits you're going to get is a Mike Iaconelli review where he spends about 20 minutes talking about the new bait, catches a few fish, and goes through the features. And it's just really cool how when he shows off the hinge. And when I first saw the videos of it, I'm like, wow, how did they make that happen? Like, did they put some sort of literally like a split ring or something? How did they hinge it? But it's actually done with plastic. And so the plastic is woven like a mesh in that hinge, and that gives it the strength.
So that's what George is talking about. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I got to have a look at that. But as I said, there was just so much that I saw come from Berkeley, Abu Garcia. I mean, all of the lines that basically Pure Fishing represents, and you love using. So I was really looking forward to hearing, because as I said, the plastics. There was a plastic that Moose and I used during the Canada-U.S. walleye, and it's almost a holographic image of a perch. And I think you and I talked about it already. And I have to say, from a plastics guy who loves his plastics, that is a killer bait. And Moose put on a clinic, as I said, using it.
Yeah, and actually the same technology, that holographic finish, is what's being used on the Berkeley Gilly. And you and I were talking backstage before the show, and Trevor's actually dialed in this little gilly bait pretty well. Like, it came out last year at ICast. It won Best of Show for soft bait, and the gilly itself is a pretty impressive bait, where it looks just like a bluegill. It has that holographic finish, Scotty, so it looks exactly like a bluegill. The body shape is like a bluegill, but when you pull this bait through the water, it really snakes side to side. And even what Trevor's done with, and if you guys go over to Facebook, to Trevor's account, or on his Instagram, he did a really cool how-to video. And he actually takes a wacky rig hook with a weed guard, nose hooks the bait, and it's pretty hard plastic in the head. It's been designed to have that hard plastic to basically take the abuse of hooks. And then what he's done is he's taken a little nail weight and stuck it underneath the chin of the bluegill. And so what he's doing is he's casting this out, he's letting it swim, and he retrieves it like a swim bait. And if anyone has done fishing with a swim bait, and whether it's the gilly or the Nessie or any other swim baits out there, Like it is painfully slow. Like you really just want to retrieve that swim bait fast enough to get the tail moving, to get the bait swimming. And if you go faster than that, it typically messes up the action. You really have to go slow. And I fish a lot of my swim baits on a bait caster. And so I'm using, like, I like to use a 6.3 to 1 retrieve. So it just is nice and slow. And if I go with a lot of my bait casters are 7.2 to 1 or 8 to 1, and it's just too fast. I can slow it down, but it's almost hard to slow down. Like I'm kind of a fast angler, so I like that 6.3 to 1 for swim baits and just work it really slow. And if you can, you want to maintain bottom contact if you can, or maintain contact with the cover. So what Trevor's doing is with rigged up weedless, he can work it over top of, like, for example, on the weekend, we were working the gillies over top of deadfall overhanging trees in the water, and you would cast it towards the shore, work it over the branches, and you don't necessarily see it, but you can feel it working the branches. And then when you get to the edge of the tree, then you'd let it fall down and let it basically nosedive. And it's just a really, really cool design.
Yeah, and you guys did really well. Kayaking is definitely something that some of us larger folk are a little intimidated to get into. But I will say something that came out of ICast, and I was watching the Old Town video that they had this unit hooked up to, and I'll tell you, the beam on these kayaks is just growing and growing, almost getting to the extreme of a John boat.
Yeah. Like some of these kayaks most fishing kayaks now are in that 32 to 36 inch range for width, and some are even bigger. And, we were talking backstage about this, and think about kayaks. A good fishing kayak now is highly stable, but it's also pretty heavy. You're in that 100 to 130 pound range, which is a little more than one person to lift on, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And so now you're getting into trailers, like small boat trailers. I know a lot of anglers are buying basically a John boat trailer or like a Sea-Doo trailer, and then modifying the bunks to carry a kayak, because these boats are so heavy now that, you can just water launch them if you want. If you're by yourself, just back your trailer in the water and float it off. Putting a kayak on the roof of your car or your SUV or your van, it's kind of, we're getting away from that now if you want to have a fishing kayak. There are some great fishing kayaks out there that are still in that 50 to 70 pound class. But if you want a kayak that's wide and really stable for bigger water with a pedal drive, it's pretty hard to get away from a trailer. And fishing now, with kayak fishing too, because it can be dangerous, it's always good to fish with a friend, and that friend can help you lift the kayak. And so, it's great working with Trevor. We have such a fire drill organized and how we load and unload. Like loading a kayak at the ramp is not just like sliding in and off you go. You got to put all your stuff in. And so I don't want to be that guy at the ramp, everyone's like tapping their fingers like, come on, kayak guy, get going. But we got it pretty down to a science, and it's worked out really well. But you got to be really well organized. And, and the thing about the Old Town one we'll talk about, Scotty, is what they've done is, so they've taken a pedal drive and they've made it motorized. And it basically works on the same principle as an e-bike, which I don't own an e-bike, but we know what an e-bike is. An e-bike is you can pedal it. It has a battery. Once you get up to speed, you can just basically coast on the battery, and it's powered. It's basically a motorcycle. But you can also pedal to charge the battery while you're going. And so that's what Old Town has done, is they've created an e-bike setup where when you put the pedal drive into the water and you start pedaling, there's a couple different systems, and you can just pedal like you want. And then you can do pedal assist, which increases your speed while you're pedaling. So it's basically using your battery, but your feet are still kind of assisting things. And then you put it into this cruise control mode, and off you go at about 4 or 5 miles an hour. So, and that's really the trend with kayaks now.
It's incredible where you have watched kayak fishing evolve to the point where now you don't need to bring a paddle. You literally can use your trolling motor, as you said, and then this e-pedal system that Jason has done a fantastic job explaining. I have the video here, folks. Have a listen. If you're into kayak fishing and you may not be as fit as you'd like to be, this might be something you'd like to look into.
ICast 2023, the new EPDL from the folks at Old Town. I'm going to let these guys tell you about the boat.
So we got on this on the water yesterday. It's absolutely a blast. Here's the drive here. So the EPDL drive is an electric assist. You can pedal this. You can paddle this boat really easy, and it gives you a little boost as you're pedaling as you turn this up. It does have cruise control. If you press that button, you are fully motorized, and it's built on the big water hull.
The basic deal is I can pedal this kayak just like a regular PDL, or I can start to cycle through these settings, and as I go up from 1 to 2 to 3, we're seeing more of a pedal assist. The motor's engaged, but I'm still pedaling for the most battery efficient system. I go all the way up to 5. There's more motor power and less need for me to pedal as I go up, and oh yeah, you can really feel I'm hardly pedaling at all at 5, but I'm still pedaling. It's still pedal assist too. Now the wind comes up. Oh. Then all I got to do is hit this button here, and I go to full cruise control.
It's moving at a good
now
clip.
I can feel the motor engaging.
Yeah, most of these kayaks are moving about 5 miles an hour. Like we're not sorry.
Now I'm on
three to 5 miles an hour, depending on your weight and your load and things like that. Like even in our kayaks, so in our DOS Kings, like if I'm paddling, so when I'm in shallow water, I lift up my pedal drive. I set it. There's a feature where I can lift it out of the water and just set it down, and then I paddle. You know, with a lot of thick vegetation, I'm literally fishing in 2 feet of water, sometimes with lily pads and everything else. So I'm paddling. I can paddle at about 2 kilometers an hour. When I'm pedaling, I can comfortably pedal at about 4 kilometers an hour. But I'm average. If I'm kind of in my getting to a spot mode where I'm just I want to get to the other side of the lake, like I can cruise at about 4.5 to 5 kilometers an hour. That I can maintain that speed for 30, 40 minutes, no problem. And what you'll find with kayaks too is that you can't really make them go any faster. Like, how should I explain this, Scotty? And I actually read a really cool article about this. So you can put a really big electric motor on a kayak, but the hulls are really made to go at a certain speed. And let's say that speed's around 3 to 4 miles an hour, top speed. You can go faster on the motor, and you're going to throw more water, but the hull itself can't really go any faster. That's it. No matter how much you push it, all you're going to do is just push a lot of water and make a lot of noise. Kayaks just travel at about that speed. Now, what's nice though is that obviously, with human power, like to me, my limit, like if I'm out kayak fishing, let's say I've had a good night's sleep, and I got some energy, I've had breakfast in the morning, I'm good to go. Dude, I can go probably about 2 to 3 kilometers before I start to feel kind of winded. Like that's kind of my limit. And I also think too, because I have to come back, right? So, but the average day of kayak fishing, like this past weekend, we were doing anywhere from, depends on the size of body of water, but the one water body we fished, like I put on 10 kilometers, and that's fishing around, poking around. Like the lake we were on is probably about 3 kilometers long and probably about half a kilometer wide at its widest point. Not even that wide. Maybe it's only about a quarter of a kilometer, 250 meters across. It's a reservoir. But you go all the way up to the end. And usually what I do is I fish one shore and I kind of work my way back down the other shore, and I might loop back through a productive area. And I always reset my odometer on my Garmin because I'm always curious how far we've gone. And I can tell you it's about 10 kilometers is about the average day of fishing. When we did the kayak tournament on Dalrymple, I think we did close to 17 kilometers. Like that was max. That was where I was driving home from Aurelia, dude. And I thought my hamstrings were going to give out on the 400. I was worried about them doing the old tighten up, and that didn't happen. But yeah, like that's kind of about my limit now. But everyone's going with motorized kayaks is the way to go now. We just haven't made that step yet because I haven't found the right motor yet for what I want to do. But there's such innovation with kayaks, man. Like there's brackets, like people are doing custom 3D printing for all kinds of stuff to mount trolling motors and to mount anything now. I keep telling Trevor we need to do a walkthrough of our kayak setup because I'm pretty proud of the setup that we've got. And both kayaks are basically twins. So in the morning, like we have the same connections for our fish finder, for our transducer, our storage bins, where we put our paddles, where we put our measuring boards. We have it all down to a science, and I'm really happy with the setup. And we'll do a video about that soon because it's worked out really well for us in these kayaks. And it's the thing about the DOS King, again, I'll say it, they're fairly inexpensive compared to a lot of fishing kayaks out there. And, and we've been doing great with them. And also too, they're all kayaks are made overseas, but I will say this, that Darren Ford at DOS King is so great to deal with. If you have an issue with parts, he will take care of you. He's out of Collingwood, and he'll set you up. He's been fantastic with us. With just, dude, it's kind of weird, dude. Like in my job, I'm on the water every day. I was joking with George Morgan on the weekend that I'm going to get web feet this summer because I'm fishing. Like I get home on a Friday, and Friday night we hit the water in the kayak. I fish all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And then the only day I'm not on the water this week is today. And if I wasn't driving to Windsor for this project, I would have been on the water this afternoon, but it was just too far to drive. Like I'm on the water. I've been on the water. I've only been 3 days in the past month. I've not been on the water. 3 days.
Unreal. Well, I to Corey's point, and this is what brings me to the next question. When you see these additions, these options, whatever you want to call it, I get fearful that these kayaks are going to get limited out in terms of the weight that they have in them. Myself, I couldn't put like a small fish finder. I couldn't put the smallest fish because I'd be overloading the kayak. But you have folks that are out in the ocean. He mentions a video that a guy caught a 200-pound halibut. I just get concerned at the amount of weight that we're adding to these kayaks. Are we hindering the safety of them by adding all this stuff or no?
I don't think so. Like, I've never felt unsafe in a kayak. Like, I think when it comes to kayaks, when we get on big water, I think the only thing you have to worry about is waves. Like you can go overboard with a kayak. Like I think about, would I ever use a lead acid battery in a kayak? No. Like we're running, we have a combination of two different power systems. We're running a Lake Simcoe power box and a secondary battery, and that runs our fish finders, our cameras, our navigation lights, like everything that you could imagine. Both of those have 18 amp hour Dakota lithiums in them. And so, for example, my Garmin 9, EchoMac 9, it will run for 18 hours basically on an 18 amp hour battery. So I don't have to charge it in between trips. I do because they recommend charging your lithiums and keeping them topped up. But I could go 18 hours without having to charge it. And I have two of them. So if something was to happen, I always have a backup. And in terms of the milk crate in the back, where we're both using, they're called Yak Attack Black Packs, and Trevor's got the old model. I have the newer one. Like we're putting you can put 5 3700 planos in that crate. And then what I do is, for convenience, the big waterproof planos with the clips on the side and the color. Okay, so they're watertight. I keep all my plastics in those, and I keep one under my seat. So when I'm fishing with plastics, like I'm drop shotting or I'm fishing swim baits or whatever, or on my jig trailers, they're under my seat. So I'm not having to reach back and grab them. They're under my seat. And another tip that I highly recommend for a lot of folks is get yourself a little Pelican case. This is the one I have for work. That's a kind of a big version. I have a smaller version, and in there I keep my wallet. I keep my car keys. I keep my tools. I have my pliers in there. I have my snippers. I also have some of that stuff on my PFD, but I love using these Pelican cases, and I know they're not cheap, but a small Pelican case for your wallet and your keys is so important. And I even tether it. I tether the handle, and it goes behind me, and I tether it to my seat when I leave the dock, so I know that's where it is. And if something ever happened to the kayak, it'll be I'll get my wallet and my keys back. At the same time, too, the black packs, everything are attached to the kayak. So there's bungee cords holding everything down. Everything's strapped down. I have everything tethered. Probably the only thing I haven't tethered, and I should, is my paddle. But when my pedal drive, I actually have a paddle holder on the side of my kayak that runs the length of it, and I just snap it in, and that's where it stays. And it's pretty bulletproof setup, to be honest. And the only thing I really worry about is, well, recently we've had to dodge some thunderstorms, so that's something too, because you can't get back quickly to shore. So you really got to watch that radar in the morning. This past weekend, Scotty, we had a great weekend of fishing. We fished 3 different bodies of water over 3 days. We caught lots and lots of largemouth bass. We actually targeted largemouth on purpose because I haven't been on the show for 2 weeks, but the first week of July, last week of June, we fished Lake Erie for 4 days straight. The winds were beautiful. Yep. And we caught, no joking, between myself, Trevor, and his buddy Owen, we caught hundreds of smallmouth. Like, to the point where the boys said, we don't want to fish smallmouth for a while. We just want to catch green ones, which I'm fine with because green ones are pretty fun. But we caught so many smallmouth. I even had to do a fluff order midweek to somebody that we know because the fluff was on fire. It was absolutely on fire. I've never used marabou jigs much. Did lots of research on them, and I'm going to say probably I caught over 100 bass in 4 days. No, three days. And over 3/4 of those fish was on fluff in less than 6 feet of water. Wow. And a lot of the fish I caught was sight fishing. Like, you'd be going along in your kayak, Scotty, and you would just look, and there'd be like an 18-inch smallie, like just out to the side. So I had a spy bait, but I had in my one rod holder, I had the marabou just there, and I would just set the spy bait down. I'd stop paddling so I didn't spook the fish, and I would just grab the fluff and just flick it to the side. Sometimes the wind would take me past the fish, but I would I know he's back there, and I would just literally blind cast just behind my shoulder and open the bail, let it fall, and then I would just close the bail. And with the hair jigs, just so everyone knows, you don't impart any action on it. Literally, the best way to fish them that I've found in a kayak, because I'm not standing up, I'm not watching the hair jig, I'm throwing it out, I'm counting it down. So if I'm in 4 feet of water, I'm counting it down about 2 feet, and then I'm just slow winding it like a swim bait. And that's it. And if I see it now, as it gets closer to the boat and I got my glasses on, I can see that fish coming up behind it, and I'm just gonna slow down. I'm not stopping. I don't want it to fall. I just slow my cadence just a bit. And then all of a sudden, what you'll feel is you won't feel a strike. Most times they come up to it and they just grab it and they keep swimming. Now, they're not moving fast. They just kind of slurp it down and keep coming for you. And on a nice, that's why I think these light rods, so I'm using a 7.6 medium light Fenwick. When you cast it out, Scotty, and even that light hair jig, you can feel the resistance of it in the water. It doesn't feel like much, but you kind of get used to it. But then, I don't have to explain this to you, the feel changes. It just changes, because what's happened is I don't feel that drag anymore because that smallie's come up and grabbed it and it's coming right at me. And most times you just smash them. And we caught several fish in the 18 to 19 inch class. I lost an absolute giant that easily would have been pushing 6 pounds. It actually bent the hook out on my fluff. And it's a good hook. It's a good Mustad hook. I was just too crazy with the reeling it in. I said I got a good hook set on it, and I just had my drag set a little too tight. That was my mistake. I need to back off that drag a little bit on the big ones. But
well, you know what, Jay, an A for honesty. I'll say an honest angler is one that I revere and admire. But yes, I think all of us have been down that road where we've made that mistake. We get excited. It's fishing. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're learning, right? We're always learning. Like, what's been great about this year is I've really focused on learning like techniques that are new to me, like fishing the hair jig. And especially too, dude, I'm fishing from a kayak. Like, I'm still kind of new to the kayak game. I can't stand in a kayak. I don't like it. I'll be honest. I don't like standing in a kayak. Trevor and his buddy are doing backflips and cartwheels. I'm not. I will stand up to grab, like, I keep my rain suit up in my front hat. So I will stand up to get my rain suit out, and then I close it up again. I sit down. I've had to change how I set my hook. Boat positioning is so important. Like, if there's a lay down I want to fish, I won't cast to it right away. I will take my kayak, and a lot of times with the pedal drives, I can't like fine tune. I actually pick up, even though I'm in deep water, I will pick up the paddle. I will just make a little adjustment. And I know at certain angles, my hook set is way better. You know, I'm going to set, if anyone's, Derek Strube years ago did a great video of this. Derek's a good friend of mine. If you don't set up, always try and set to the side. You'll pick up more line. And often though, in a kayak on a big fish, when you set, you move the kayak. So sometimes I actually time it where I'm tightened. As I'm tightening down, I'm moving my feet backwards. So I'm getting a little bit. So I'm doing this. I'm in the chairs in the hotel, so I could do that. So I'm literally trying to, as I'm setting, I'm trying to jack that fish out of that cover.
Wow. Well, I will say we appreciate you coming here every Monday and doing the how-tos, but it was you got to be a proud father. When I saw it, I knew this was the beginning, and once it starts, there's no end. But Trevor's starting to do how-to videos, and I had mentioned him at the spring show that one day he's going to be on stage doing it. And I'll tell you, I there was a twinkle in my eye when I saw the video. I thought, this is awesome,
dude. And I totally ruined his video. I didn't ruin it. Okay, so this was on a Sunday night. We just finished fishing like all weekend, and you know me, on a Sunday night, like, dude, you've lived on the road, so Sunday nights are like packing my bag, getting everything ready. And one of the things I do on Sunday night, or any night that I'm home, this is what dads do. About 9:30, I go outside and I lock all the cars. Well, he's got the camera set up on the car, and Heather noticed it in the video. She's like, "What's that light flashing?" I'm like, "Oh shit, that's me in the damn." And Trevor just kept talking away as if nothing happened. But if that was the other way around, I'd be pissed at me. But I didn't mean to do it I didn't do it on purpose. I locked the car while he was talking. Anyways, poor kid.
Well, it was a proud moment for me to see it because I said it's just a matter of time before he starts. I love the fact that now that it's begun, there's no end to where it's going to go. But needless to say, Trevor, we're going to be keeping an eye on you.
And I'll say with him too, like he's fishing obviously some local water around town because dad's away and can't take him fishing, and mom's working too. But he's taking his friends fishing. Like he meets up with his friends, and his friends look up to him for information, and he shares it, and he shares his knowledge with his friends. And it's really cool to see that transfer of knowledge that he's doing with his, and these, some of these friends, like, how should I say that? I don't want to put the kid down, but it's kind of funny. So like, we go out fishing. We went out smalley fishing for that stretch. We were actually in an online tournament. Okay. And in the one day, Trevor caught his biggest smallmouth in a kayak yet, just shy of 20 inches, 19 3/4 inches. He caught the most smallmouth bass he's ever caught in his life in that week. Okay. Like in terms of fish per day, like I know these stats because I fished with him his entire life. But you know what? He was still grumpy because he got beat in the online tournament. He only came in like 7th instead of 1st out of like 60 guys. And I'm like, you can't possibly complain to me about how disappointed you are in the fishing. I said, do you know how many of your friends that follow you online would kill to have 4 days of fishing like that?
Amen.
You know what I mean? But that's how competitive he is. Like this past weekend, dad caught quite a few more fish than him on Saturday, and it was tough. It was a tough bite. And he gets frustrated. It's funny how frustrated he gets. He gets competitive with Dad. And I find I do best when I'm not competitive, to be honest. But yeah, he just wants grade A fishing all the time, and he's learning that doesn't happen. So it's been kind of fun. You know, I'm kind of hard on him, and I'm kind of like joking with him all the time. But the kid works hard. He works hard to catch the fish that he does, and yeah, I'm pretty proud of him. And that video is just a bit of a culmination of lots of things.
It is, and I will say too, it is proud of a moment. It is. I truly love the interaction between him and his sister Steph. Watching those two fish together, man, it melts your heart. It's just awesome to see how he encourages her, how he enjoys and has the same passion she does, and builds the excitement, because you know, fishing for some can be, you know, ho hum, but
well, and it's here, get this, so we're going to the cottage in a couple of weeks, and Stephanie has organized an event. It's going to be the first annual rock bass tournament.
Nice.
And Trevor can only fish for rock bass for that day.
Wow.
And I'm like, sounds fair to me. We're gonna family rock bass tournament. And because Stephanie loves catching rock bass because they're so easy to catch. She fishes for family. She fishes for fun. She fishes for ambiance. She fishes for the just to go fishing. She wants to catch big fish. At the same time, she doesn't care. She just wants to catch fish. And so rock bass fill that void perfectly. And this lake we go to has lots of great bass, largemouth and smallmouth, but damn, the rock bass fishing there is off the chart. So we will go. And if anyone wants to fish for rock bass, I will give you a tip. Berkeley gulp minnows.
Yeah.
Berkeley gulp minnows last forever. They are tough as nails, and they catch rock bass like you've never seen. They'll catch smallmouth too. I've caught a lot of big smallmouth on a drop shot on a gulp minnow. But if you want to catch rock bass and you don't want to go through lots of your favorite plastics, or you don't want to have to rebait worms on a hook, gulp minnows, 2-inch and 3-inch. They will get the rock bass in the boat for you. And so we are having a rock bass tournament. I'm sure there'll be some trash talking going on, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, one day of our 10 is going to be the rock bass tournament. It'd be fun.
Wild. Well, listen, speaking of stress, I do have to, there was a video that was posted on Target Walleye that as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of you and George, who's still with us as well. I'd love your input as well, George, on this. The only thing, because someone was asking me, it may have been Richard, I'm not 100% sure, what would have caused this? And the only thing I can think of is just stress, whether it's temperature stress, the stress of being caught in a confined space. I'm not really sure, but have a look at the video. And I'd love your take as well as George.
Tail like that. Here's a pretty standard walleye tail. There's no red. And look at this guy. Oh, dang it. That is interesting.
So, you know, I've seen bass in live wells, especially after bass tournaments, you know, ones that are being weighed in. They can get reddish fins like that just from the boat ride. It could be from stress. Maybe it's actual like, you know, bouncing around in the live well. Who knows? But I'm going to guess that's stress related. We'll let George chime in, but I'm going to say that's probably a stress related, because we don't know those fish, you know, did that angler have them in his live well on his boat for a period of time where he happened to look in and go, oh, look at those fins. They're so red colored. Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess it's from being in a live well for a period of time. And, you know, probably not like emotional stress, like the fish is just stressed from being like, they've caught me and I'm trapped in this live well, but actually being banged around, moving from spot to spot, probably something like that is causing that redness in the fins. And I've seen that before in bass and bass tournaments. And not all boats will see that, but some boats I have seen it, especially in rougher water.
100%. Jeremy, immediately I thought that's why I thought of stress.
Yeah.
When you see a muskie, it's no different. Pike, no different. Especially in the warmer water on a warm day, it has a tendency to bleed into the fins like it does. And in that situation, But again, it's an anomaly. It's not easily explained for folks like myself, but it is intriguing. And
and there's a lot of it's funny this year too. Like if you look at the water temperatures this year, like we're already into mid-July, and to be honest, like some of the lakes I've been on, that they're a little cooler than they have been. I don't know if it's because of the rain. Like we had such a warm period in the early summer. And oh, there we go, George. I think you were banging on there. Someone, yeah. That's what I think it is too. Transport and just capture and transport. Yeah. But like this year, like the water temperatures on the weekend were like in the low to mid 70s in places where I thought it was going to be closer to 80 because of the hot weather we've had. And I don't know if now I'm fishing shallow water for largemouth. And so 80 degrees isn't unheard of, but I was surprised to see water temps like in the low 70s, like 73, 74, 75 throughout most of the day too. And now the surface temps are definitely it'll disappear in the frying pan. That's right. So well, it's true. Like some of Jordan's earlier comments in the show, like it's true. Bass have it good because people like releasing bass because that's the status quo these days, but not walleye. It's unfortunate. I know Scotty walleye, you get it, but boy, oh boy.
Totally. And I will say this because this is a great segue into, we are in the dead of summer. These are the dog days of summer. It is hot. The water temperatures are hot. It is a good idea that if you are having the interest of releasing your fish and you've caught it out of warm water, I used to do this, separate your live well, put some frozen water bottles in so that you have colder water in the live well. You'll be able to revive them a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so that when you go to put them back in, you'll notice that they'll swim away. Whereas in that warmer water, they're so lethargic. And sometimes even after you've let it go, they sometimes, list to one side, they'll go belly up. And it's just because that warm water just isn't got the amount of oxygen that it needs. So a good tip, separate your live well, put some water bottles in if you are intending to release your fish.
I also think too to that point, Scotty, like I think if you're going to release your fish, really think about if you should even hold them for any period of time either. Like take your pictures, let them go.
Yeah.
So many people out there are boxing their fish and doing hero shots afterwards. That's not really, I've done it before. And the more I think about it, the more I really don't like that idea. And I learned this ice fishing years ago, and I think because I don't do a lot of fish harvest during the summer because I'm mostly bass fishing. But if I was actively walleye fishing in the summer, I wouldn't be live welling my walleye. If I was going to eat them, I'd be dispatching them in the boat, bleeding them out, putting them on ice right away. The fillets are way better. Like they taste way better when that happens. Like I learned this years ago, ice fishing for walleye. If you're going to keep them, dispatch them, bleed them out, and the fillets are much better shape than if you just let them freeze on the ice and thaw them out later. Would you agree, Scotty?
100%. And it's unfortunate because not everybody has that luxury of being able to set them aside or do whatever. That it just seems to be second nature to throw them on the ice. It's nature's way of preserving the meat, but you're 100% right. It changes the texture. It will change the taste in some cases, but I couldn't agree more, Jay.
So there you go. There's some stats for you. So from the May opener to the end of June, 41,000 walleye were caught and 12% were kept. Catch rates were just shy of one walleye per hour. That's not a bad catch rate.
No, not at all. And as I said, this initiative.
Yes, George. Make sure you measure them before you dispatch them. That is probably the best tip of the night, right?
And the other thing I will say too is keep in mind, this is something that we saw at the Canada US Walleye that I've never had to measure my fish.
Yeah.
So in that tournament with moose, they will shrink.
Yes.
They will shrink. So if you are close to that limit size in the slot, what have you, my advice is if you're going to hold in that live well for longer than a couple hours, I would release it if it's close.
And I think too that when this is why kayak fishing is kind of neat. So when you're measuring your fish on a board and you take the photograph, okay, you look at your lines on your board. If you don't touch the line, so I'm going to say here, but If it goes over 18 inches, but it doesn't go to 18 and a quarter because we do 1/4 inch increments, it's an 18-inch fish. And I think that I haven't seen too many fish shrink more than a 1/4 inch, but they will shrink. If it's an 18-inch slot and that fish is just touching 18, and you're going to keep it for any period of time, you're really taking a chance. That fish should probably be 18 and a quarter if you're going to put it in your live well to be checked later. That's my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Jay, you're in Windsor. I know you're busy. You're on the road. What can you tell us about what you're down in Windsor doing?
Yeah, so I'm working on some new habitat modeling techniques. We've spent, so last week, the last 2 weeks, I was on the Saugeen River mapping it from Walkerton to Denny's Dam. Still got some work to do there. We kind of got rained out last week. And what we're doing is we're mapping depths and velocities along the Saugeen River, and that's going to be used for basically for fish habitat models. So Scotty, like, we can sample a river, and every time I go to a site, if we pull a seine net or we electrofish, I'll measure the depths and velocities, the current speed at that point. But then you have a river that's 80, like this section of river is 80 kilometers long. Like, we can't sample it all for fish. And so what we've done is, this is actually used in engineering. So in engineering, they take these Doppler profilers and they run them across rivers. And if you live in urban areas, you'll see conservation authorities and municipalities swing these units across the river on a cable during high water, and they're measuring the current velocity and the depth across the channel. And that information is used to engineer bridges, to make sure bridges are strong enough, during high flows. Well, we're using that for fish now. So we can look at what are the depths, what are the velocities. If we know the preferred velocity and depths of certain species, we can tell you that X amount of the Saugeen River, it has X amount of habitat available to that species. And so we figure out what those species like from the sampling, and then we map the whole river, and then we can tell you, yeah, there's X amount of habitat available to that species. And what we're also doing too is we're playing around with new technology from Lawrence that's being developed called BioBase. And BioBase is a mapping technology through Lawrence CMAP. And what we're able to do is not only can we make a bathymetric map of a water body, we can also determine, it'll measure macrophytes. For some species of fish, we can map a lake, and I can actually, I have to drive the whole lake. So this could take days of idling at 5 miles an hour. Okay. But the data is recorded in a unit on the Lawrence unit, and then you can create your own maps, not just depth, but I can actually create a map of macrophyte or plant density. And this has been done across the U.S. in different applications, and we're testing it in Ontario this year in our lab, looking about. So then what we're going to do is we're going to then sample, like physically go out and sample the macrophytes. And then we're going to go out and sample the fish. And so we have this broad map of macrophyte data. We're going to have points of macrophyte collection. And then we're going to have points of fish collection. And we're going to see what densities of macrophyte. So if I see a density of, let's say the densities go from 0 to 100%, and they're in 10%, 20%, 30% densities. So the darkest colors will be the 100% densities. Lightest colors are 0%. If we go to the 100% density and we use, actually, it's pretty high tech, dude. We use a garden rake, and we take a garden rake and we twist it 360 degrees, and we lift it up and we dump the macrophytes, the plants, onto a tray. We photograph them, we identify the species, and then we go to the next point. And then we go back later and catch fish in that area. So now we have information for the fish, information for the macrophytes, and we can figure out what species prefer what macrophytes. Now, this is all being done for species at risk, but when we do our sampling, our netting, we look at all species, right? So northern pike, largemouth bass, common carp, everything. So all that data will be published and available in a couple of years. So,
holy smokes, that is fascinating.
So my week is going to be literally, dude, I'm going to go down to this river below. It's a tributary of the Detroit. And I have a Lawrence unit set up in a big Pelican case. I have it all wired up in the John boat. And I'm going to get to there in the morning, and I'm going to launch the boat, and we're going to press start recording. And I'm literally going to just drive this river, and it's the river mouth. It's like a delta. It's a big wide wetland.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to drive back and forth, mapping the entire wetland basically for the next few days.
Jay, as always, dude, man, thank you for all you do outside of what you do here at CFN and every Monday, but keep up the great work, because I'm so glad we have folks like you out there doing that kind of work and that kind of research. It's
been a busy summer. Honestly, Scotty, I've been doing a lot of this testing of remote, we'll call it remote sensing technology, and where we're sending out we're using devices to send us back information to a laptop or to an SD card. And to be honest, like I haven't held a fish in 5 weeks, 6 weeks now. I'm just collecting data, but on a large scale. So we're doing a lot of cool testing this year. So yeah, but I'm on the water. I'm just not catching fish.
Hey man, hats off to you. That's dedication, but at the end of the day, it is for the benefit of the fisheries as well as the anglers who love them. So on behalf of all of us, Jay, thank you for what you do, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, everyone. And we'll hopefully see you guys next week. I'll try.
All the best, Jay. You take care now.
All right.
Peace. What a show. Again, this is why I love doing it. I hope you folks enjoy it as much as I do. There is a wealth of information that is shared here every Monday. And I am so thankful to Jim, Jay, and Lawrence for sharing it with us and bringing us up to date, keeping us in the know, and keeping us aware of things that we should know, that we maybe didn't or took for granted. Corey, great question in regards to the frozen water bottles. Yeah, if you were to just have them bang around, they will float, and most fish in your live well will stay near the bottom. But what I'm talking about is you're able, in some of these newer live wells, you can separate. There's dividers, and if you put the frozen water bottles in one area and let the fish swim in the other, that cool water will slosh back and forth, and it gives them a little bit of added oomph to be released. Or it will also preserve the meat, so that if you are fishing warmer water, the texture of that meat will be a lot tastier and a lot firmer when you go to fillet whatever it is you fish. Yes, absolutely, Tony. Great information. Thanks to Jay. Thanks to Jim. Thanks to all of you who show up here each and every Monday. And a big shout out again to Steve, who's been busy behind the scenes, sharing all the links to all those like George and Jeremy and Corey, who gave us some great feedback, some thought processing and mind-busting stuff. Again, I love this. I can't get enough of it, and I hope you folks are in the same boat as I. That's it. That's a wrap. Again, if you want to have an edit done, please put it in the inbox at the Facebook Canadian Fishing Network site. Whether it's Walt, whether it's me, most likely it'll be Steve. It'll put a great feature together. And I'll tell you, all we ask as a great thank you to us editors is just share it. Just share it. That is the ultimate thank you. Sharing the work that's done behind the scenes. We really, really appreciate that. So on that note, Dave, it's up to you to take us away. Enjoy your week. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay cool, stay dry. And remember, we all love you. Take care. All the best.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.